eyes on you.
2025, man. It's been a year. It's been a really long but really short year at the same time. And I think just the whole premise of making this video is just to be able to, reflect on everything that's happened and just to remember everything that's happened. Because honestly, it's felt like such a long year. I think every time I look back at memories from, maybe like a few months ago, it's felt like ages ago. Genuinely, it felt like ages ago, but it's only been a few months, or maybe like since January. But it just felt so long. So I think, just being able to make this video is something that I just wanted to, give God glory for, and just to be able to, like I said, just reflect on everything that's happened this year, because I think that I really needed to sit down and just, just chill. I think it's been a long year, and just really just try to figure out everything that's happened and everything that God did for me. So I think, I never did one of these before, so I don't really know what to do. But I think one of the main things that I wanted to talk about is just break it down into 3 parts. And I think, I really just want to start with reflection. And I think just going from the start of this year all the way to pretty much where I'm at right now. And, just to remember off the top of my head, hopefully I don't forget a lot of things. But, started off this year, traveling back home. And it's been, a whole year since I've been back during January. And just to be able to see, family and friends again and just to be back home was awesome. And I think, that's something that I'll never take for granted, being able to, just be back home and just enjoy company, enjoy the people that I've made lifelong connections with already before I moved to the States for uni and everything. And it was just a big time in my life. I was definitely not doing much, definitely just chilling, just, going around the island again and just being able to, see parts of, my childhood that I haven't seen in a whole year, because it felt like forever ago since I, packed my bags, went to uni, and just started. But it's only been 2 years, which is crazy to think about. But after that, went back to uni for a little bit, maybe for, I would say, maybe like a month. Not even really a month. I was only there for about like 2 weeks probably. It wasn't there for long, but, got to see, friends again and just be able to see uni before I left. And down to February, the end of February, all the way down to, I want to say it was around June 22nd. I remember June 22nd, and that was Korea. Genuinely, this could be a whole different video, but I think, just for the sake of keeping it in this recap, I want to just keep it in here. But honestly, I can say so much things about Korea. I think it's something that was definitely needed for me. I think with the amount of stuff that I did experience-wise and just, meeting different people and everything, it was definitely a break that I needed, because it was just, I would want to say it was a rough fall semester for fall 24 that I had. And, just to be able to have that much needed break and to be able just to explore myself again and just try to find myself again was definitely something that I needed. And this is going to be a whole different video just talking about Korea, but I want to keep it as short as I possibly can just to recap on everything that's happened this year. But from what I can say, just to sum everything up, this is probably one of the best uni experiences that I've ever had in my life. I got to meet, different people from all over the world. I got to, continue to do the thing I love, which is play football. And, as much as that love has died down a little bit, I definitely found myself finding love for the game out there in Korea again. And it was something that, meant a lot to me and a lot to my family as well, just to be happy just playing again. And that was something that, never take for granted. Shout out FC Yonsei. It's a great experience. And, just being, first of all, just being at Yonsei University in the first place, like, from my small school at Linfield, like, if you compare it to that scale of people, the amount of people that are there is just outrageous. Every day, you see different people, just going out of class. You're not seeing the same guys every single day. Like, you're seeing a bunch of different people every single day. You're going out of class, and you got, like, dang near 5,000 people coming out the same building, which is just outrageous. But, man, it was just a time. It was just a really good time. And I think Korea was definitely a time for a lot of firsts for me. And I think it was definitely a time where I needed to just experience God's love for the first time again. Because, not to say that I was falling out of my faith, like, just going into Korea, but I think that I was really hesitant of really just what was going to happen. And I think, me just giving Jesus the will and just trusting that he has everything set for me already. Everything's already written. And it just so happened to be one of the best experiences of my life. And I low-key don't want to say that was the peak of my life because it kind of felt like it, but definitely one of the best experiences of my life. And, just the people that I got to meet, all of the friends I got to make, the relationships that I got to continue to take on even after Korea is just something super special. And like I said, it's going to be a whole different video. But for me to just break it down into those 5 months, because basically those 5 months were basically my whole 2025. And every time I look back at, just videos, pictures, or if, I get messages from people that I've met from there, it just feels like forever ago. And it feels like I just haven't been there for like, it was such a great time. And, I hope one day I get to go again. It will be a little bit different, I think, because I've made, those friendships already in Korea. And, if I do go back with them, then that's cool. But if I go back with myself, it's going to be a completely different experience. But I think just to be able to just live in the whole time period was something amazing. And after that, went back home for about the summer from around June 22nd from the time I left until around August 10th. And this is really just a time where, I just got to spend time with family and friends and just, just relax after a super long semester. And, just getting to spend time with the family before I go back to uni again. And just going back from August until November. This was a very, very interesting time because as much as I felt like not a lot happened, there was a decent amount that happened. But I definitely want to say nothing like crazy, but I took a lot of the experiences that I had in Korea that definitely God used to shape and mold me to, just live out this next semester. And I think the problem that I had with this semester was just the fact that I held on to Korea so much. Just not even just like the relationships of it, but just with everything, like my schedule, just every single thought that I had was about Korea. And I mean, to this day, it's already December, 30, but I still think about it each and every single day, which is crazy, but it's a good time. I think definitely this semester, I would say something that this semester has taught me was when God has a plan for your life, he will let you know, and you will know that it's his plan and that everything else will fall into place because he is the one in control. And, it took me a while to understand this, but I think, just going back to Korea again, being able to experience his love again for the first time and just being able to, have people around me that had the same faith as me and, hold me accountable for, just my faith in general is something that has helped me even during this semester just to figure out things like just holding on to my desires is just not something that I'd want to do anymore. It's really now just letting God take control, and wherever I go, then that's where I go. And I think that's something that I had to learn throughout Korea as well, because I'd always hold on to so much thoughts and so much of my desires that I don't want to take hold of. But, in the end, it's God's plan that'll prevail, and in His perfect timing, everything will pass as well. So that was just something that I took away from Korea, besides all the concerts, besides all the football, the friends, relationships, everything like that. It was really just how God wanted to move in my life. And I would never have expected it to have gone like that. And I probably talked about Korea so much during this whole time, so I want to move on. But, this semester, just with football and, with school, it was decent. I think a lot of the lessons that I learned in this semester is just that everything's temporary. I won't be in this space for too long. I have one more year in college football, and I think after that, I'm calling it. Like, it's done. I just don't have a future in playing more football. Maybe just for like amateur league, rec league, sure, stuff like that. But I don't think that God wants me to take the route of being a footballer. And, as hard as that reality was for me to take, I have to accept the things that God wants for me and not what I want for myself. Because genuinely, if I go off my own will and off God's will, really, and do my own thing, then it's all going to fall into shambles. And, just letting go and trusting God is something that has been something big in my life. So, just continue to trust everything He does, especially with this last year of college football. All I can do is, work as hard as I can and finish out the year, and that's where I'm at right now. But, during the semester, I got to see, my friends that I met in my study abroad program, and it was just amazing, just seeing them in about like 5 months. And it's crazy because they didn't feel real. I'll be real. They didn't feel real at all. But, just to be able to visit them and spend time with them was something that, I'll never take for granted. It was amazing. And, getting to see just different experiences in my life, I think, have been a big part of this year. And if I would have thought that this year would have gone the way it did, looking at it now, if I saw how it looked right now, then I wouldn't have expected any of it, because this year was definitely filled with a bunch of highs, but also a bunch of lows. And I think regardless of how I feel about those lows, it's definitely helped me to build my character and help me to be better, just around people in general. Am I still not great around people? I would definitely say so, but I'm working on it. And I think that, the experiences that I've gone through just throughout this whole year have helped me just to endure through everything. And just the whole enduring process, it hasn't been easy, but, I'm glad that through these experiences, my character was shaped and molded, in ways that I couldn't even imagine. So I think just during this whole time, just being able to think about how I endured throughout this whole year has just been, something to be proud of, and something to use it as I move on to next year. And, going into next year, I think I want to set out just a few prayers, because there's a lot of things that I would want to hold on to during this year, and I think one of them would be Korea. Honestly, I feel like it's not to say that I won't not think about it. I'll probably think about it all the time, but I think something that I held on to a lot this year was just Korea, and not just to, and I'm not saying just to let go of everything or just forget all the people that I met or all the experiences that I went through, but I think just to, just to move on. You got to move on in life, and I can't just be holding on to something that's already passed, And like I said again, this is not to say that I'm not gonna, talk to the people that I've met there, or, about the experience that I went there as well. But just to be able to be happy about the new experiences that are gonna happen in my life, and not hold on to the experiences that already have happened. So that's one prayer that I'd wanna, send out, just to be excited for the future. I'm not sure where God wants to take me during this whole thing. Even just doing this, this is really just a hobby, for me. I only want to do this because, it gives me something to do, or, I want to show, my kids in the future what their dad was doing, in his 20s or something like that. But, just to be able to, just for memories, really. I don't know how far this account will go, but I just want to stay consistent in the things that I want to do for doing these videos, and do my best to give God the glory for these videos too. So that's another prayer that I want to send up. And just to, I think my last prayer would just to just have more faith this year. Next year. Just have more faith, because I had a lot of faith in 2025 for sure. But I think now, just knowing what I went through, and knowing the things that God can do when I set on the path that he has for me, and just focus on the things that I can focus on and can control, I think that's something that I just want to lean on and rely on more. Just, getting in my word more, just prioritizing this relationship with God instead of a relationship that, I'd want to chase for, search for, or whatever. Just prioritize God and really just lean on my faith, because, like I said, 2025, I had no clue what was going to happen. No idea any of this stuff was going to happen, but it happened. And, same exact thing for 2026. So why not just have faith, But I think that was really just everything that I wanted to reflect on. And I know I mentioned it before, but Korea could really have his own video for real, but I think that I'll just leave it here for now. But, if you made it this far, somehow, if you're still watching this, then I just want to let you know that, whatever you do, whatever you set your mind to, just if it's in God's will and if it's in his plan, then continue to do the things that you set out to do. If it's something like, just going out and recording a video, or just, sending a text message to your family members, telling them you love them, just little stuff like that. Just have faith and trust that God is working in your life, even if you don't believe in him. Just have faith in the things that you set out to do, and just know that your path is being set out and written for you. It's already written for you. You just got to walk in it. So, I don't want to hold this on too long, but I also don't want to end the video myself. So I want to let my friend end it out for me. But, I just want to say peace and blessings, and definitely see you guys. Definitely, hopefully, more videos for 2026. We'll see. Peace, though.
But yeah, just want to say, love you. You are one of my favorite friends. I'm so thankful that you came, and I hope you don't miss us too much, because we're always only one phone call away. But here's you walking the streets. I'm gonna get you some B-roll right now. Oh, I'm so good at this, and you don't even know. Oh, I'm so good at this. Yeah.
I was gonna say a long ass message.
Okay, God forbid a friend want to give you a long ass message, bro. Bro, he hates me, bro. Caught on camera, 4K.
I hate you at all, bro. Oh, why so gray?
Because of the sky.